Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up and coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we today? Hopefully you're doing well. I told you I would have a piggyback to go along with the insects collection, and sure enough, we do. This interview was so much fun to put together and just chat with Sanaa Kelley, and you're going to find out so much about her in this episode. I really hope you enjoy this. Sanaa, I appreciate you taking the time and joining me with all my listeners and stuff like that. Obviously, we're not live, but this has been something that when I was initially hearing about the set coming out and them doing this kind of thing, I was beyond excited to be able to at least put in a request, be like, hey, can I talk to this person? Can I hear a little bit about the audio side of this? So I just kind of want to go right off of the board here. What was the first emotion you had when Lego came to you and said, through their avenues, and said, hey, we would like to do this?
Well, my first reaction is like, oh my gosh, the Lego group wants me to do something. This is like so unreal. Like, you know, I grew up playing with Legos, and then my kids played Legos. And I have to admit, as an adult, I still play Legos. So, and as a Foley artist, you always, you know, like, I may not have played it for years after my kids grew up, but then we're working on this Lego thing, animation, and I actually, you know, went and bought Legos. It's like, yes, it's like you feel like you're a kid again.
That is exactly it. You can never get that kid feeling out. It doesn't matter how old you get. But you mentioned you were a Foley artist. Now, I've kind of dove into a little bit of that. Could you explain what a Foley artist is?
So a Foley artist recreates sounds for movie, TV show, animation, now also green noise when we first started. Any kind of media is recreated in a Foley stage by a Foley artist, which usually has 1 to 2 Foley artists with a Foley mixer that records us. So basically, if someone's walking, you do the actual footsteps, touching their hands, kissing, any kind of noise is replicated to picture. Or if you're creating the green noise ASMR kind of style, not to picture, you kind of have to do the sounds that actually come out, like that you think it's going to sound like.
Okay. I understand that. I'm glad you explained that. That was much better than I could have ever done. Now, I did see, you know, I looked at your bio and stuff like that. You have an extensive history of work and some very well-known things. So that is very cool. I will link that for you guys to be able to go check out her stuff and everything. So Lego comes to you, you're super excited. You're like, yes, I get to be a kid all over again. There are a whole bunch of unique elements to this. You're creating the sounds, you have them on display behind you. So you clearly built them at some point in time after you got done messing about.
Yes. How could I not?
They are really quite exquisite. I'm super pumped about this. I hope it does really well. So how did you get started in creating sound in general with this? Like, what about this project kind of gave you that motivation of like, I can't wait to dive into this?
Okay, besides it being the Lego group and super excited, like as I mentioned before, when, you know, I got, not to make everyone jealous, but I got the set before anyone got it. So I got to like really be inspired by it to see, okay, now I have it. I know we talked about it when I had the physical Lego set, you know, the Lego idea set, the insect. It was just like, oh my gosh, like these are actually beyond what they described to me. So that was great. Also, before they gave it to me, I had to do research. Back in the day, I have a bio major science background, and I was completely horrified of insects. So, you know, what do you do when you're scared of things? Not everything, but, you know, most normal things is you gotta face them, learn about them. So I took a class to learn about insects, so I'm not so scared of them. And I took it at Cal State Northridge, and my professor, like we would go on hikes. We, really taught me a lot about insects, and I would sit there and watch. We'd have to watch the behavior of each insect. We'll sit there watch like a butterfly for 4 hours, following it around, or
Wow.
any insect to learn the behavior, and you hear the sounds and stuff. And I was a Foley artist while going to school at the same time, so naturally I pick up the sounds. So once they told me I'm gonna have the 3 insects, like I knew what I was gonna do, but then I called my professor. It's been like years. I'm like, hey, I'm so glad you're still there. So I'm doing this thing. These are the noises I'm thinking, for the Hercules beetle. I'm thinking they have like a little fan kind of sound when they're flying. He's like, yes. I'm like, when they're walking, I was just describing the little sounds that they would make. And he's like, absolutely. I'm like, then the butterflies don't really make noise, more of the pushing of the air. But I had to do something to do, I'm thinking feather, and he's like, yes, absolutely. And I'm like, but then the Chinese mantis, I'm like, I would think the legs have this little, he goes, yes, but also remember when we were in class? I'm like, oh my gosh, you remember that? And he's like, yes. He's like, when they walk, there's like this little scrapey kind of noise. So then I felt really confident after I spoke with him and got together with that. I'm like, okay, so this is great. Talk to Dr. Hogue, and I'm ready. I'm pumped. So then the challenge was making those sounds and also use part of the Lego bricks to create the sound. So that was a little bit of a challenge. She just went to the studio, and I'm like, all right, let me see. This is what would normally done it. Then I had to test out different bricks to see which one sounded just right.
Yeah. When I initially saw I think it was a 1.5-minute video that Lego put out as a teaser ahead of time promoting this, and you had different elements and stuff like that. And like my mind was just crazy. Like, how do you take plastic and come up with this? And I was like, okay, she did this. Like you had mentioned the fan, because I had listened to the soundtracks when I had built them, and they're really well done. But it was very, very welcome. It was really unique to hear. And I was trying to think back prior to this morning, like, okay, well, what was she doing in there? I got the fan. I got that idea. So that's very cool, though, that you were able to get in contact with your professor from years back and be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. So when it comes to these insects, you have the 3 unique insects. Did you do any research behind? If so, how much research did you do? Was it kind of like, let me go Google, the Chinese mantis and see what kind of weird sounds it may make?
Well, the thing with Googling, you got to kind of be careful, right? Because it could be just someone making the noise and putting it out there. I'm a Foley artist, so I know even documentaries and nature shows, I recreate the sound. So it could be the vision of a different Foley artist that is not actually the truest sound.
Okay.
So that's why I reached out to Dr. Hogue, because he actually, like if you have a species that it's not been labeled, he actually puts it in the books and writes, like he's really that good. So I didn't want to go look at someone doing ASMR that they may not be, it's not the true sound. Even people's like, oh, well, I have clients before they're like, well, I want on YouTube and this is what I heard. I'm like, yeah, but it could have been anyone going making the sounds and making it as like, you do sound to video. That's what I do for a living. So I wanted the truest, most honest sound I could do, because I have the Lego group that trusted me with such an awesome opportunity to work with them. I did not want to let them down. The things that I was kind of trying to be careful with when I was making the Lego green noise is I didn't want it to be boring. So you have 45 minutes per, and you have, just imagine, okay, I'm recreating, I'm putting the Lego set ideas together, right? And I'm listening to this. I try to put myself as a person doing this. What do I want to hear? So then I would do like, okay, you have the beetle that's flying. Now I'm going to slow it down. How am I going to slow it down? So by taping the Lego bricks to my finger, I was able to use the actual brick, the actual Lego brick, to put it on the fan to slow it down, like it's landing, it's flying again, it's slowing down. So I was able to play with it, and having the mic pointed at me directly, I was able to do it around the mic, where it's flying this way, flying that way, just the little details. When you really listen, you could hear it kind of flying away, coming back and stuff.
That is way more than I was expecting, honestly. That is incredible. And you had mentioned your professor again. So I now understand. You're like, I'm going straight to the source. I'm going to the guy, I don't want to say world leader, but it sounds like a pretty darn high up there guy to do this. So that is very cool. And I love the idea of okay, well, how do I slow it down? When it's coming into land, when it's doing this. So it's just different. So how does that, how do you like get inside of, you're seeing these things, you're understanding, okay, this is how it's moving and stuff. Where does your brain take that and adjust it to fit? Are you watching a video? Are you just getting an idea? Are you kind of doing this blindly? Like you have this idea of what this insect looks like and you're just going with it? Or how do you go with that?
So there's different ways to do this. So ultimately, when I do Foley, I have a video that I follow to see what's going on. Now we have 45-minute segment. If I don't have a full video for 45 minutes, I'll have multiple videos, even if the client did give me video. But if I had multiple videos, like, for example, if I didn't have the videos, I would watch the behavior of few different ones. Like I just sit there and watch a ton of videos of actual insect in their normal habitat. So then I could fill in the gaps, what it would do as it's feeding. And it's like, just I could be very patient, which, like when it's homework. It's something that I have to do. Just like years ago when I had to sit and watch each one of the insects for hours. So sometimes I remember when I watch it for hours, it just sits. Well, sitting is going to be kind of boring. So you still want to do fun things with it. So you kind of have to fill in the gap if you don't have a video. But again, It goes back to doing homework and having done homework beforehand. Before I go into the studio, I've done all the legwork.
As it's part of your job, you're just doing your background knowledge. I get it.
But I tell people, Foley is like acting with sound.
Okay.
So if you're doing a movie, TV show, you try to get the emotion of the actor, what's going on. Now, when you have animation, which could be like anything, or you have, inanimate object, but, it's based on real life. So you're going to have to reenact it. So you have to really get to know your character. And these were my characters. I had 3 characters. I had the blue morpho butterfly, Hercules beetle, and Chinese mantis. So I need to really get to know them, which I did before stepping into the studio.
I never thought about that side of it. I really never thought of it as acting, but it makes sense after you said it, and you're getting to know, like, I've got to get it my character. This is the character that I'm trying to represent here. So, man, that's just impressive. So I know you have been at this a very long time. You've, like I said, have worked on many, many, many different projects. So how did you get started in creating sound? What interested you?
Okay, so funny story, not funny. So 28 years ago, almost 29 years, I saw someone doing Foley. Like they had random things to recreate the sound. For example, if they had to do the sound of beetle, they're not grabbing a beetle, torturing it to make the sound on demand. No, that's how it works,
No, not at all.
So you have to use certain objects, like, if someone is using a fan to do the sound of the beetle, that's kind of different, right? So similar, that person was doing that, and then walking footsteps in front of the mic without moving forward. I'm like, oh my gosh, I was walking when I was younger than 1. I'm an overachiever. I got this. Looks easy. They actually pay you to do this. Why isn't production recording the actors? Are they taking a nap or something? And it's every question people are asking me this, and I'm like, that he went through to explain when they say quiet on the set, they have to make the set quiet. They can't have heels clicking as the actor is talking, clapping, or eating a potato chip as they're talking, because the microphone is going to pick up the sound of the potato chip versus the dialogue. And you have the actors that did such a great job performing it. You don't want them to have to go to the studio and redo their lines, which is called ADR. So they know if they're going to use a potato chip bag, they're going to use a quiet one that looks like the real thing, but it's not. So it doesn't crinkle. So it doesn't step on the dialogue, because they know Foley artists, they're going to come in and replace all the sounds from the chewing, eating, footstep, every single thing. So I'm like, cool, like I can do this. Like, put me in front of the mic. Went in front of the mic, couldn't do it. It was like impossible. Couldn't get a really nice heel toe. Like if you just stand up and try to do heel toe in front of the mic, doing running, walking, stepping up the stairs in one stop in front of the mic, because you can't walk away from the mic. You can't have a boom operator that's going to follow you because you can hear their footsteps. So he's like, you know what? Some people have it. Some people don't. You just don't have it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's kind of rude. So for those of you that are really young, that, you know, don't know what a yellow pages is, it's almost like a Google search. so it's like the old times of Google search. I went through and looked for studios, and I called so many studios, and I got so many no's, like a million no's. And then finally one person's like, yeah, you could come in, but you could only sit with the Foley mixer. Foley artists won't let you see what they're doing. They're very, like, they don't like to teach. They don't like people to show what they're doing. I'm like, that's okay. If I said it with you, that's great. So they kind of did me a favor, because I learned to use my ears. And I think it was the best thing that happened to me. And then that's fast forward 2 years ago. I opened Instagram and a TikTok, my Real Foley Sound TikTok and Instagram, just because I didn't like that no one taught me. I was self-taught. And to figure out how to do one thing may have taken me months, where if I had videos to show me, or someone just gonna help my hand a little bit, it would have made my life easier. And it wasn't. So I just want to make it better for the next generation that are coming out. And so far, it's helped so many people. I just get so many thank yous. And it's just really like fulfilling that I'm able to pass on and make it easier for the next people that are coming up to be Foley artists.
That's really nice to hear, because I know there's so many people that have a craft and they say, oh, well, I'm not going to show you how to do this. Why would I share with you my trade secrets that I've taken years to figure out? But you at least went through and you're like, no. Finally, somebody said, yes, here we go. Let's go. And 28 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. You just want to make it, you know, the way I look at it, be a good human and make it better for others. And I got a few phone calls from a few artists going, how dare you share our craft? I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Can you please tell me what you taught me so I could take it down? You didn't teach me anything. Thank you. So I'm only teaching what I learned myself. And they're like, well, people are going to come and learn and take our jobs. I'm like, there is abundance. There's so much work out there. We're going to be fine, you know, but it is what it is. You just got to be a good human and let nature take its course.
Well, and you're just taking a different path, and education, you know, is huge. It is very, very huge. One of the things that I was very curious to know, there's so many different elements that are Lego elements that are in this set of the insects. Was there something when you opened it, you were like, oh, I'm going to work with this. I can't wait to use this piece to be able to make a certain sound?
Yes. So basically, I was so weird. I was looking for the flatter pieces that are straight, because I didn't want them to change my sound. And I needed 8 of them because I had to tape them to my fingers.
Right.
So it's so I'm going through, I'm like, this is too little. It would have worked. But then I needed a universal one, and I needed the colors to kind of be the same. So there was this like long, flat beige pieces were my favorite to make sound with. They were just awesome. They were like, I could manipulate without changing, because I almost used them as I would normally use my nails. So they became like an extension of my fingers. I could control them.
Yeah. I think I saw that in the video. I think they had it in that part of the video. the little teaser video that they put out. But that's cool. And I'm sure some people are like, you didn't go for like the cool, wild colored elements and stuff like that. No, I'm going with the beige, the tan. That works. It's purpose driven.
Everything is for a purpose. I may get like the weirdest prop that I buy and people's like, oh my God, this is so cute. I'm like, no, it's actually very ugly, but it sounds really good.
So the next question I have for you, you've mentioned you've been at this a long time. Where do you find the inspiration every single time you walk into a studio? Whether it be a project with a Lego group, whether it be a project with a movie house, where do you find your inspiration at?
So inspiration comes from, you have, for example, the Lego group. They put so many details into each piece. I mean, when you look at them, they're absolutely stunning. The detail's crazy good, right? And then out of all the people in the world, they chose me to recreate this beautiful sound for them, for the Lego green noise. So for them to trust me with this, my inspiration is these people trusted me with this. So I'm going to step into the studio and do the best work I can do it. That's not with just the Lego group. That's with any client that trusts me with their work. Some of them spend millions of dollars and they have choices, but they chose me. So it's an absolute honor every time a client chooses me. So I am inspired by that. I'm driven by that. And I feel just honored that they chose me. I
love hearing that. I don't have a response to that. I'm just kind of like, mouth agape, like, awesome. That's fantastic. I love to hear that. When obviously you've got this idea in mind of how you've talked to your professor, how you're going to do this. How long did it take to create those tracks? There's the 3:45 minutes and then there's the other one. I can't remember how long it is. How long did it take you in studio roughly to create those?
Took me a long time. It took me a long time before going into the studio. And then, it just has to be that perfect sound. I grabbed feathers, to do the sound of the blue morpho butterfly, right? So then I have a lot of feathers at the studio, as you imagine, my Foley stages is full of stuff. And I'm like hitting the feather. I'm like, oh, too hard. Ooh, too soft. You just had to be that perfect one. Then I like it. Then I have my mixer come in. Like I'm like, okay. So then after my mixer comes in, then I'm like, okay, recording, let me hear it. Then I hear it. No, I don't like it. Like, let me mix this feather with this feather. Let me, there's a little click that I'm hearing then it doesn't work. Then, like even with the Lego bricks, I tried smaller one. I tried bigger ones. I tried, I like the pretty blue. I tried using the blue.
It is very pretty.
I even tried using the flower. So I had to try a lot of pieces. So then once I found the sounds that I really, really liked, listen to them, the mix, because you listen to them in the Foley stage, it sounds different. Like the videos I post when I don't use my Pro Tools session, it's not the true sound. The cell phone doesn't give you the true sound, but then our actual mics pick up the perfect sound. So then I go listen to it in the upstairs, like my mixer room, that's been recording Pro Tools with the true sound that we deliver. And I'm like, okay, I just like that. Then we do like just flying. Then we're like, okay, that's gotta do it different. Like a butterfly would fly fast, when it's escaping predation or it sees like a pretty flower, it's gonna go fast.
Right.
Then it sees it, then it's gonna land to get on the flower. So it's gonna slow down, it's not gonna run through the flower, So then, okay, then you have to think, okay, so the flower, where is it gonna be? It's gonna be like in a bush in a tree, right? Then you have to have the wings hit the vegetation, the greenery and stuff like that. So all these things, it takes days.
I have no doubt. Just hearing the complicated steps, even before you get into the studio, and then, like you said, you're trying to recreate a certain sound that you may have heard or have in your head of what it is supposed to sound like, and you're like, no, that's not it. Now let's try this. That's not it.
Yeah, so, and then okay. The Hercules Beetle, we had to try different fans. Some of them you hear more the motor, some of them I can control the blade, some of them the blade is a hard blade. I'm not trying to like hurt myself, so like everything. Right. it like we had so many different fans before we got the one we liked.
Well, now it'll be known as the Beetle fan from now on,
The
right?
Beetle fan.
The Beetle fan.
Yeah.
Awesome. Before Sanaa goes on any longer, we've got to take a quick break. We'll be back in a moment. So out of all the sounds that you made for these tracks, was there a certain part of one of them where you're like, you know, I did a really great job with all these, because like you said, your trust level with your customer is super important. You want to do the best. Was there one time though that you're like, first shot, I nailed it? You're like, oh, that is it. Was there anything when you were making these?
Yeah. One of them that I thought of it in my head and it was like, oh my gosh, it worked, is I got for the Beetle flying, right? The fan, you know, great. That was really cool. All of them were really cool. But then I got a pine cone and doing it with the Lego bricks that are taped to my fingers. And like you could hear the like, but like more of the scratchy, because the pine cone has different, the reason I liked it, it has different, every little thing has different sound, right? And if you put it, so the way I would put it is I would put it in my hands and then less of my hands. So when I'm putting my hand, it's more muted. So when I take it out of my hand, just my fingers handle as little as possible. It's hollower, it's thinner, then I'll mute it more, so I'm able to work at it. And it just was like just so beautiful the way the little sounds came out. Very dynamic. It's very pleasing to the ear.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love hearing this kind of stuff, but you know, seeing the excitement, obviously nobody's able to see your face, but seeing the excitement on your face, I can kind of get the idea of like, oh yeah, I see the enjoyment of like, yes, I got it this first time. This was so cool. Such an awesome sound.
Yeah. So, usually I get to the stage and it's like, it'd be something really difficult and hard. And then they're like, my mixer would be like, okay, so what are you doing? And I'm like, oh my God, I see the sound. I see it in my head. He goes, oh, can I hear it? I'm like, yes. It's going to be really good.
Just let me get there. I'm working on it.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, when you walk down the street, because you live in California.
Yeah.
When you walk down the street, there's all kinds of noises, traffic noises, people, animals, and so many things that people just don't take into account every single day. Is there something where you walk down the street just on any normal day and you think to yourself, I want to duplicate that sound right there?
Oh, wow. Yeah. My husband's kind of used to that. So usually he has to explain, because my husband and friends, they know whenever like I go anywhere and my head tilts a little sideways, it's almost like my right ear gets closer to what it's supposed to be. It could be petting a dog, like a super hairy dog. I'll go and pet it. I'm just, ooh, your dog sounds nice. Or it could be like we're at the store, like, and that's how I found that fan. And I bought years ago. And you just like trying it out. I bought newer fans for this because I like to have options. But I remember going in, I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. Like there's always, you know, we went to a Chinese restaurant and we had a fortune cookie. And I was just eating fortune cookie. I was playing with it with my fingers. I'm like, oh, that sounds like a snail's, like, you know, the snail little thing, like the exoskeleton or whatever, the shell of it. And I'm like, oh, that sounds kind of cool. And then just so happened like a month later or whatever day, I don't know how long, difference day, I had to do someone eating a snail. I wasn't going to eat a real snail. It's kind of gross with the shell and stuff. So I used fortune cookies. So I'm always working, and people will always say, how do you know what to use? It's all in my head. So
it's all there. You like you said, you're tilting your right ear towards the scratching of the dog to the fortune cookie instead of eating the snail. Thank goodness. If there was an opportunity that came about and Lego came back to you and said, you know what, you did such an amazing job, which you have, and I'm going to continue to say that. But if they came back and they said, hey, we would really like you to do something that is currently in our catalog, it could be whatever, create sounds for this, that, or the other. Is there something that you've kind of like thought about, like, you know what, I'd really like to be able to create a soundtrack or something for this product or that product?
So that's a really, really good question, because when I go to their website and I'm looking, I'm like, ooh, look at this pirate. Ooh, I could do like water movement, and I could get the ship like, we all recognize that sound. To recreate that, it would be so cool. Then there's the whole DC stuff that they have. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do, worked on the video game Batman and bats and all that stuff. I could just sit there and spend, I don't know, days, months just creating sounds for that. There's so many like boats, police officers, anything you could, the thing about the Lego group is they have a vast number of things. And the thing about Foley, we create sounds for all of it. And it's just like, like if you have like police, for example, there's the cop belt, there's, the handcuffs, there's the footsteps, there's the leather, there's this, there's that. It's just like, you could get one thing and just spend hours building it. Star Wars, oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
Like, okay, give me a few months with that one. Pirates, oh my gosh, like, I don't know. It's endless sounds that I could keep recreating. So I don't know, forever, like infinity sounds.
Yeah, I have no doubt. And then you mentioned pirates, like you said, the things of like the boat rocking back and forth in the water, the clanking of swords, all of it. Like the minute you said that, like my brain is just going in overload of like, oh, there's this and there's that. And
there's nonstop. There's the boats around. We just did this pretty big show, kind of has to do with that. It's not out yet, so I can talk about it. But like you say, there's the swords, there is the footsteps, there is the different boats, the different ships, it's just so much. That's so cool to recreate. And then animals, oh my gosh, like farm animals, like you get the horse using the coconuts, you have, the goats, it's dogs, cats. I could just keep going, it's so fun.
Well, I mean, it's a passion. You've gotten incredibly well at it, or else you still wouldn't be doing it. Let's be honest. So I have two more questions for you, and then I'll let you get on with your day because I know it's very early for you. So what kind of somebody that's looking to get into Foley sound as a Foley sound artist, what kind of words of inspiration or guidance would you give them to pursue their potential dream?
So Foley, it looks easy. Foley is very, very, very hard. It takes years to learn. Don't take no for an answer, and don't give up on yourself because it is mentally and physically exhausting. It's also a catch-22. You can't get a job unless you know how to do Foley. You can't do Foley if you're not practicing, so if you're lucky, if someone is to let you in the Foley stage, just make sure you sit there, absorb, learn, and then practice on your own time. Practice. And then if someone, like I had a million no's, don't take no for an answer. If one door closes because there's a better door out there for you, that's going to be better for you. There's a reason why they didn't work out. It's probably for the better. There's always some better opportunity out there. And when I first started, I didn't go in. I'm like, hey, I'm going to be Foley artist, pay me. I'm like, hey, I would love to observe a Foley artist. You don't have to pay me. I am really good at sweeping. No one can sweep better than me. And I could make you the best coffee. So I bring my good attitude with me. So I know, some people thought it was annoying. There was one person that thought it wasn't. And I swept and I cleaned up and I took out the trash and never asked for payment, just gave them a smile and was thankful and grateful for every day that they let me sit in.
Well, I appreciate you sharing those words of wisdom and desire for anybody that may be listening that's interested in it. It's a fantastic, fascinating world because you never stop and think every time you watch a show or a commercial or a movie and you're like, well, somebody like Sanaa's doing that right now in her studio or did it, months ago. So I'm not going to let you off the hook without answering one final question for me.
Okay, go for it.
you said you've been on the Lego website, so I know you've already looked. Is there a certain Lego product right now, or maybe, when your kids were younger or whatever, that you were kind of like, man, this is by far my favorite thing. I love this so much.
Oh, it's like trying to have me pick my favorite child. Let me see. Oh my gosh. I have to say that pirate one was like really cool just because I thought of all the sounds. But then I like the animal one too, when there was like and I don't just love, the problem is, just like with Foley, the reason I like Foley, because I'm not doing just one thing. Like even food, what's my favorite food? I can't just tell you one. Like I can't pick one color. I can't pick one food. I can't pick one Lego brick or one Lego group or whatever, like one Lego set. Like I like different ones. I get bored, so I want different. I like a variety. I'm sorry. Like
you are that child.
I am. And my kids were like that too. Like, if I was to walk in, I'd be like, okay, let's build this again. And then, they'd be like, really? Again, Mom? So they are my children. So I like different things. I think that's why Foley works for me, because every day is something new and exciting happening. I can't do the same thing over and over and over again. I'll be yawning. So yeah, sorry, I'm not answering your question. I like all of them.
I will take all of them, and I'm sure the Lego group is not going to complain either. Some people can't. It's fine. Some people can give me one. Some people can give me none, and that is 100% okay. That is your answer. That it works for me. Before I let you get out of here, you had mentioned you're on Instagram and TikTok. Would you please tell any listeners where they could find you?
They can find me at Real Foley Sound, like a movie reel, REEL, Foley, my job, FOLEY, Sound, SOUND, Real Foley Sound. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, like all the medias. Those are the ones I'm most active on.
Awesome. Well, Sanaa, I appreciate you taking your morning and chatting with me. We went a little bit overboard, or I went a little longer than I told you, but I really appreciate it. And I hope you have an opportunity to work on Lego projects again in the future, because I know there's movies that are coming out or series that are coming out. So that's always a cool thing. So thank you again so much for taking your time with me.
And thank you, Matt. I really appreciate it.
Well, that'll do it. I told you it was going to be a great interview. I had so much fun talking with her. It's not very often that you get somebody that is able to, open the door and let you see inside of this crazy idea that people don't even stop and think about. And then you have it, go along with Lego, which is, let's just put it lightly. Nobody would have ever thought in a million years that you would have some kind of ASMR go along with Lego, a specific Lego set at that. And not just like dropping of bricks and plates and stuff like that. Like actually making animal noises, insect noises. Absolutely wild. So that'll do it. Until we meet again, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's belt on it.